Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday, the start of another week. I hope you're having a very good start to this week, wherever you are watching or listening to this around the world. First of all, just a flag. I'm hoping to do it, but there's a chance I might not be able to do a show tomorrow morning. Um, as you know, as I said before, as you can see by the paint things there, this room's getting decorated tomorrow. And so the decorator's going to be in here. And my wife's going to be upstairs in the other room, which I normally do videos from. She's going to be working. So I've got to try and find somewhere to actually be able to sit down and do a video. I hopefully will be able to find somewhere because this house is tiny and it's a bit of a struggle. But I will hopefully still manage to do a video, even if I have to do it from my car. So hopefully it will happen. But if there isn't one, then that's why. But hopefully it will happen. Anyway, plenty to discuss today. We're going to talk about Joshua Kimmich, who's the links with Arsenal continue to grow. Give some of my thoughts on him. Love to get your thoughts as well on the possibility of Joshua Kimmich signing for Arsenal. Would that be a good deal or not? We'll talk about that. We'll look at the latest international action, of course. Copa America now underway. Gabriel Martinelli and Gabriel could well be in action for Brazil a little bit later on. I think 2:00 in the morning, they get their campaign underway. So we'll talk about that. Got loads of reaction from you guys as well on the Eberechi Eze stuff we were talking about yesterday. The young players as well leaving Arsenal. Loads of reaction to that sort of stuff. So loads to discuss today, even though once again it's a little bit quiet at the moment, as has been the way for the last couple of weeks when it comes not just to Arsenal but football on the whole, aside from the Euros. One man who is at the Euros, obviously, Joshua Kimmich was in action yesterday for Germany in that 1-1 draw against Switzerland. There have been tentative links with Arsenal in the last sort of couple of months or so, as his future remains pretty clouded in a little bit of doubt at Bayern Munich, out of contract at the end of next season. Reports suggest he has shown no interest in signing a new contract and that Bayern would be willing to let him go this summer rather than lose him on a free. Now, the latest reports today coming out of Sky Germany, I'm sure you've probably seen them, is that Kimmich has a list of clubs that he will go to, and Arsenal is one of them. It's Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, the only clubs in Europe who are believed to be able to secure a deal for the Germany international. Apparently on 20 million euros a year at Bayern, one of the highest earners at that club, and that could price out other parties. Now, Kimmich is 29 and is a fantastically gifted player. We know that. Brilliant on the ball, can play in multiple positions, ticks a lot of the boxes like Mikel Arteta would like. Very, very versatile, top level experience as well, both in European competition, but also an international stage as well, as we're seeing right now for Germany. Arsenal found out all about Kimmich's quality when he scored the winner and knocked him out of the Champions League earlier on in this season, running from deep from that right-hand side and getting that header into the top corner. Look, I think it would be a very good signing for Arsenal in the short term. Actually, the more I think about it, when I say the short term, I look at Kimmich and I think he's easily a player who's going to go on and be playing top-level football until he's 33, 34. I don't really see why he wouldn't be. I kind of put him in the same sort of category as some of the top older European players now who are still doing it at the top stage. Tony Cruz, his international teammate, for example, at Real Madrid. I still can't believe he's retiring. I still can't believe Cruz is retiring. Your Luka Modric is that side of player. Look, when you've got the sort of football intelligence that Kimmich has, he's not, lightning quick. So it's not about losing pace or anything like that. He's so gifted on the ball. So I don't think if you sign Kimmich on a 4-year deal, the 2 years into that deal, he's going to suddenly be, washed up and you're going to be stuck with this expensive player who you can't get rid of, who's not really doing it for you anymore. I would still have a few reservations about this deal, though. I think if Arsenal were to push on with it and try and get it done, because. And it is down to his age, really. I don't care about no sell-on value because, look, it's not my money. Well, it is my money because my season ticket money goes to helping Arsenal pay for things. But at the end of the day, look, I'm not Arsenal's accountant, and I just want Arsenal to win and win well and finally win this Premier League trophy. I think Joshua Kimmich in the short term would absolutely help Arsenal do that. I do worry about signing players of that sort of age now because just suddenly injuries or something like that happening. So I'd be a bit skeptical, but I think if it were to happen, I wouldn't be against it by any means. I think he would come in and he would immediately improve the quality of the squad. He would fill a number of positions potentially that Mikel Arteta could look to use him in, and I'm sure teammates around him would love having Joshua Kimmich on board. So I'd love to get your thoughts on it. I just think it would be a really interesting transfer if Arsenal were to push ahead with it and try and get it done this summer. Apparently he's his own agent, Joshua Kimmich, so he doesn't have an agent. So any sort of negotiations will have to be done directly through him. Normally, I'd be surprised if that is the case. Normally, they have at least their sort of family members doing it rather than having to do face-to-face negotiations with clubs themselves. These sort of players who don't have a actual natural agent with them. But obviously, he's at the Euro, so anything that's going to happen will be at the end of that tournament. And he said it himself. I was reading some quotes from him. He says the situation is absolutely clear. I have a contract with Bayern until 2025, so it's not mainly up to me to be active right now. My focus is solely on the European Championships. After that, there will be a conversation. But the report certainly suggests from Germany that Bayern would be open to him moving this summer. Barcelona are believed to be his preference at this stage. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. And whether that has any sort of bearing on where he ends up. Again, I don't know. I can't imagine Bayern, with their financial issues, would be able to afford the transfer fee and then the wages for Joshua Kimmich. But you never know. They seem to find money from somewhere, Barcelona, all the time to be able to get these deals done. But let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Joshua Kimmich to Arsenal. Is this one that you would be able to get behind? Do you think his age matters at all? Or do you think, go and get him? I think when Arsenal got such a young squad as well, and they are still a young squad, despite the fact they are pretty experienced now, they are still a young squad. If you could add someone like Kimmich to that mix, then certainly you do get potential benefits from that as well. So I can see the benefits in a move like this. I can also see potentially a few negatives, but it's I'm a bit on the fence, I think, when it comes to Joshua Kimmich. But let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. There's been lots of talk at the moment. I've been having so many questions and comments. I see them even on this channel, on my Twitter and everything like that, talking about Gyokeres. And obviously, at the moment, there's a load of reports coming out of Portugal that Arsenal are very close. So a deal is days away from happening with Victor Gyokeres. If that is the case, I haven't heard it. And, that's not been reported by anyone over here who, if that was the case, I would expect them to know that by now, and I'm looking at the likes of David on that. David is so good in what he does. The exclusives he get are incredible. And if Arsenal were really days away from signing Victor Gyokeres and the deal was pretty much done, like the reports that we're seeing out of Portugal suggest, I would be very, very confident that by now David Ornstein would have known that, and it would have been out there from a source that I would certainly look at and think, oh, this is happening. At the moment, I just have no faith in what I'm reading from the Portuguese reports that are being translated over here are actually true. So I've seen all the messages that you sent me, but there's nothing that I can add to it because it's not I haven't heard that it's true what's being reported out there. And so I'd treat them all with a little bit of a suspicion if I were you when it comes to Victor Gyokeres and those reports that are doing the rounds. International wise, Kai Havertz was in action last night for Switzerland. I didn't actually watch this game, so I can't really sit here and tell you how he did. I saw some of the highlights. I saw him miss a good chance in the second half from a set piece from a corner that he totally fluffed his header. It came off his shoulder, clipped the top of the crossbar. Germany getting a last minute equaliser, injury time equaliser through Fulker's header, and a really good header that. And just about topping the group, not the sort of final group stage game that Germany were hoping for, but still top the group. I do think Switzerland are a good team. Whenever I watch Switzerland, they do impress me. But I was watching a Scotland game yesterday, unfortunately, because it was an absolutely awful game for a team that desperately needed to win to go through. I just don't think they did enough. Scotland. I think, it was I don't know. It's just a lack of quality, I think, in the final third for Scotland. The effort was there clearly, but they just never ever looked like they were going to score a goal against Hungary. And when you just needed one goal to get through, yes, they could have had a penalty. Watching the replays, they probably were a little bit done by with that penalty decision, but I just don't think they did enough on the day to win that game and ended up losing it. So that was the latest international wise in terms of what's to come. Italy are going to be in action later today. Interesting stuff with Italy and Jorginho. He's taken off at half time against Spain, and Spalletti, the Italian manager, was sort of seen having a bit of a go at him, and on the touchline, he sort of, you could, I think it was, you sort of you could lip read that he said if he must come and get the ball, otherwise there's no point in playing. He took him off at half time in that game, Jorginho, and I thought he played really well in the first game, but he got a bit of criticism afterwards. And Spalletti's been asked in the build up to tonight's game to sort of explain what went on with Jorginho, why he came off, and what he said on the touchline. So what he said it was probably under par against Spain, but it all comes down to how the team plays as a whole. If we're able to keep the ball possession, then great, but if we can't, then poor Jorginho. It's not his fault, it's my fault. This is what football is about. Jorginho has an incredible ability that none of the other players have. He tells everyone how to behave, and we don't have many of these players on the pitch. However, there are players who are pushing and have probably more energy than what Jorginho may naturally offer. He's born with those qualities and with other issues, let's call them this way. He can't score many headers, but when he leads the team, he has this quality. We will strongly rely on Jorginho regardless of whether he plays or not for 45 minutes or more. Now, the suggestion is he's not going to play later on, Jorginho, in their game against Croatia. Looks like this poor performance against Spain might well cost him that. In terms of the Copa America, like I said, Brazil in action a little bit later on against Costa Rica. I think it's 2 a.m. UK time that game is going to get underway. So Gabriel Martinelli and Gabriel Magalhaes are going to be playing over there. So 2 competitions now to keep an eye on when it comes to Arsenal's players. Okay, moving on to some of your questions and comments now. As I said yesterday, we spoke about Eberechi Eze and the possibility of signing for Arsenal, and I asked what your thoughts on it, and so many of you have got in touch. I've pulled together just a few of them. I've got a couple of slides with the reaction to what you guys have been saying. On the whole, it was massively positive. It seems like I would say 90% of you guys would absolutely want Eze to come to Arsenal if this was a deal that they could get done. Here's just a few of the things of what you've been saying. Kosing Wenya says, hi, Charles. Eze would be perfect for Arsenal in that left 8 role. What I would like about him is he can produce a goal from nothing, and we need that kind of player, and he will give you 10 goals per season from midfield, and that can make Arsenal concentrate on getting a winger. Then a striker, Mr. Risker, says, Eze would be a fantastic signing. One thing we've missed on occasion is an X-factor player waiting to really drive at teams going for low blocks. The price seems reasonable too. The only thing with the price is it sounds like, yes, the 60 million release clause is there, but a large chunk of that, potentially around 50 million, might need to be paid up front, which, for football clubs, they don't like to do that. They like to set the sort of price of a player over the sort of 5-6 years of his contract. And if you're having to pay 50 million up front, then especially now with PSR sort of biting it as it is, that can be a little bit difficult for clubs. And P. Shanman says, Eze at left 8 would be incredible. Imagine him and Martinelli or him and Nico Williams interchanging and playing on the left-hand side, the same as Odegaard and Bukayo do. Would be no more excuses for Martinelli. It'd be perform or get sold. So lots of you there getting in touch about Eze seem very, very positive on it. But there's other opinions as well. And Nesai at the top there says, I would rather keep ESR than splash out on Eze. And Ronnie here says, hi, Charles. To use your analogy of new shiny toy, why are we getting Eze? I love him, by the way, to play the suggested left 8 alongside Odegaard when we've already got that kind of player in ESR that Arteta hardly uses. Even if you go by injuries last season, Eze had his fair share. As I said, I love Eze. I love Eze and always have done since his QPR days, but we've got a similar player in the middle that just needs to be given a fair chance. Like the likes of Havertz. Yeah, but the thing is here, Ronnie, and I agree, and you guys all know how massive a fan I am of Emile Smith-Rowe, and I've criticised Arteta in the past for not using him, and I think he's wasting Smith-Rowe. He could have used him far more, and he's shown that when ESR does play. But the fact is, he's not using him. He doesn't use him, or he very, very rarely uses him. And so what is the point of him being around? It's not doing Smith-Rowe any good. It's not doing Arsenal any good if you've got a squad player that the manager, for whatever reason, doesn't seem willing to give the minutes that he probably deserves. So you may as well just get rid of him, as painful as that's going to be. And I'll be as gutted as anyone to see Emile Smith-Rowe go. But if he's not going to play him, then you may as well let him go and bring in a player that you will play. And if he lets Smith-Rowe go and does decide to sign Eze or try and sign Eze, then you would think the fact he's willing to spend that sort of money on him, that he's going to definitely then use him. So at least you've got a player in the squad who's filling a really important place in the squad that you're going to use more than Emile. So I get what you're saying. I 100% get what both of you are saying there. But I just think it's pretty clear by now, and the evidence is there for us all to see, that Emile, if he sticks around, is just not going to get the minutes that he needs and that Arsenal need him to get. and so you may as well let him go. Bring in Eze or someone else who you are going to give those minutes to. Lucas says, "Hi Charles, great show as always. Eze would be the perfect signing in my opinion. Also, would you like to see Mikel use the League Cup for youth and squad players like Wenger did? The League Cup is nothing. We want to win the league and Champions League, FA Cup. Come on, you Gunners." I think some other people have mentioned this about the League Cup and using it as a place to blood the kids. The thing is with that, I was at West Ham last season when Arsenal went out. He didn't use the kids really in that game. He changed it around, and he got hammered for it for changing. So you say, "Oh, the League Cup's nothing." Arsenal need to win trophies. I'm disappointed. I've always been disappointed that Arsenal haven't done enough in the League Cup. You know, it's a trophy. Trophies are hard to get, hard to win, really hard to win. There's only a few of them out there. So if you literally throw in a competition, then you're just limiting your chance. You're basically giving yourself 3 chances of winning a trophy when there's 4 chances. There should be 4 chances. So I think maybe you can use some of the kids, but I wouldn't want to go out there and just throw the competition by playing absolutely all of the youngsters in it. Talking about youngsters, obviously there's been lots of reaction to what we were speaking about yesterday, and after Okonkwo going and the Amare Cozy-Dubry news and all that sort of thing. We're talking about Arteta. Does he give the kids enough of a chance? And I was saying that, you know, people saying, "Oh, you're defending Arteta." I'm not defending Arteta at all. I've said it before. I think he's wasted loads of opportunities to give younger players a chance. But I also think it doesn't. I'm not overly concerned by any of the players that Arsenal have lost yet. Yes, I would like Amare Cozy-Dubry to stay, but he decided he'd want to sign a contract. It happens. It happens not just at Arsenal. It happens at every single club. Top talents leave clubs when they don't want to. We've seen Man United lose a player recently. I can't remember who it was. Went over to Italy, didn't he? Signed a player. Signed them. You know, Chelsea have lost loads of young players in the past and will continue to do so. As Igwe says, don't have an issue with the goalie going. Think it was classed by AFC. That's Okonkwo. Plus, these fans talking about best young talents when the best 2 are staying is ridiculous. Also, we can't force people to sign contracts. And exactly this. You know, Arsenal they didn't want to lose these players. They wanted them to sign new contracts, but the players decided not to sign it. Admittedly, then a lot of people have pointed out maybe they're not signing contracts because they don't believe the pathway is there, which is another fair argument, I suppose. OB says, "I believe we should play more kids in the Carabao Cup. This is a perfect opportunity to give playing time. Arsene sure took advantage of that competition." You say that, but he never won the competition. So did he really take advantage of it? Because he never won it. He got to the final a couple of times, but he never won the competition. So did he really take full advantage of it? I'm not sure he did. You want to win it, don't you? And PT says, "What is the point of Arsenal producing these talents for them just to leave on a free? We should change strategy and develop 18 plus on longer deals." Amari Hutchinson is another one we lost cheaply recently. And yeah, a lot of people mentioned Amari yesterday in response to what I was talking about. I was like, I can't really remember a really good young player leaving for a long time that I was, that I've gone on to be really disappointed by because he's played, maybe Serge Gnabry, but that was a really difficult situation for Arsenal as well, and they tried to keep him in the end, but he decided to go. A lot of people pointed to Amari Hutchinson, and maybe, but look, Amari went to Chelsea. He wasn't going to sign a new contract at Arsenal. That was made clear. He only had a year left on his deal. He was really young at that point, and he was playing for the under-23s at Arsenal. So what are they? So I don't see what they're going to be able to do. He's also a big Chelsea fan, which is a major reason why he went to Chelsea and signed for them. He'd started there as a youngster before leaving the club a few years ago. And yeah, he was a really young kid at that time. He wasn't going to be pushing through to the Arsenal first team. He hasn't pushed through to the Chelsea first team. He spent a year playing for Chelsea's under-23s after he signed for them, and then went out on loan at Ipswich the following season, which he would have been exactly the same sort of career path had he stayed at Arsenal. But he wasn't going to stay at Arsenal. He wasn't going to sign a new contract, so they had to get rid of him. And also, you say lost him cheaply. They lost him for a bit of money, for not that much money in terms of transfer fee, which is true. But what sort of money are you going to get for Amari Hutchinson back then when he first initially was sold? But they have also got a very big sell-on clause with Amari Hutchinson. So if he does now move for big money from Chelsea after that loan spell at Ipswich, Arsenal are going to benefit from it by getting a fair chunk of money out of it. So it's not that it maybe lost him relatively cheaply at the time, but they have protected themselves by getting a good sell-on clause for him as well. So they are going to get some decent money for him, even if he does go. And that's what they do with a lot of the young players when they do go. I know it's a really divisive topic, this, and I can see in the reaction in the comments, so many people have very, very different opinions on it. And I've tried to sort of share different opinions on it from that. Okay, and that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. As always, I do appreciate it. Like I said at the start of the show, I'm going to try and get a video done tomorrow. I am absolutely going to try, but it might be a little bit difficult because what I've got going on in the house in terms of the decorator coming over. But we shall see. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your Monday, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.